Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdale, video producer and Christian, looking at this article in the San Diego Union Tribune, A Caravan a Year Later, An Unpredicted Legacy. Some of you may remember last year I did some reports on what was going on with these caravans coming up to the border, and especially around Tijuana, near where I live. Before we get started, like and comment on my videos, subscribe to my channel, that would be terrific. Thank you. So what's going on a year later? What's happened down in Mexico? You know, it captivated actually not just locally, but the world's attention on what was going on with these caravans. There were thousands of people that were coming up out of Central America, making the 4,000-mile trek across Mexico to reach the U.S.-Mexico border. It was happening all across the border, and it became very difficult here near me in Tijuana, as they didn't have the facilities to handle that many people, and I don't think that even San Diego, U.S. area would have. It was just thousands of people. They were mostly Central American from Honduras and Guatemala, and they were fleeing gang violence. And of course, that's one of the problems, is they're trying to claim asylum, and the problem is you can't just claim asylum from drug or criminal issues where you live. It has to be persecution by a government, and that's really where it comes up against. But it doesn't stop. I mean, any way they think they can make it to what many you'll hear them call the U.S. is the promised land, where they get a chance to have a life. People in the caravan arrived in Tijuana in November 19, 2018, and some started making, tentative plans to try to improve their lives. Some working and living in Tijuana, still hoping for a chance at the American dream. It's the draw is still here, the strongest, most prolific nation in the world, and people are just sitting there over the border trying to get in. They're going to make every effort to do it. What's fascinating, though, is that it had a dramatic effect on Mexico. I would say what many of us had hoped to see. They got really interested in trying to deal with what's going on. I remember the Tijuana mayor coming on the news saying, we just don't have the ability to handle all these people. And there were tent cities, people packed in warehouses, numbers of things. In some ways it's settled down. People have scattered to the four winds. Some have gone back to Central America. Some have gotten jobs in Tijuana. Some have started small businesses in Tijuana. And there's probably been a few that had sponsors on this side to help them get started. So, making the most of it, some went to work in the maquiladoras, and those are factories on the border that a lot of American companies started because being on the border, you had certain tax advantages if you had businesses on this side. Then they started factories on that side, so it gave Mexicans and immigrants in Mexico jobs. Some of them working 12-hour shifts at night. I'm sure it was difficult, and hoping they would be able to make an asylum claim. So it goes on, but one of the major changes, you recall that Trump was talking about the wall, which he is getting it built. I've seen it. I've put it on video. But interestingly enough, Mexico itself has become a wall because they have stopped people coming across their southern border now. And they didn't want to have to put up with that mess it was creating and the danger it was to people. I had an opportunity to speak to a customs agent this morning, and he made the point that, when they're patrolling on the Rio Grande, they're coming across Mexican patrols on the Rio Grande. Mexico put a National Guard onto the border now to slow things down, protect people, but it's good they've gotten involved to finally do that. But they also told me that people are dying on that border on that side. You don't hear that over here like you would in these immigrants dying on this side. You would, activists would be right on that, and so would our media. But he said it happens on the other side, we just don't hear about it. It's just too bad. But as I've said, Tijuana was overwhelmed. They had tent cities and warehouses full of people. Interestingly enough, the drug cartels, seeing an opportunity for money, got involved and started quasi-travel agencies. They would get people to pay them a fee, well, a big fee, I'm sure, loaded them on buses, found drop-off points on the border. Buses come rolling up here on different drop-off points, drop them off, tell them where to go, and they'd rush the border in large numbers. Of course, not the Border Patrol not being able to stop all of them. And wherever they went, or if they caught, who knows how many disappeared into the country. So you did hear some reports of kids getting sick and dying on this side. But in my conversations with border protection agents, some of them have become numb to this. I'm sure that many go into this thinking they would like to help save the world, help others. And they see so much corruption and so many bad things that after a while they say, I just don't really care. I don't really have any feelings about it. I'm just going to do my job to fulfill my role as an agent and move on. A lot of them that I've met it seems like they're like at the end of the rope for what they've seen. So hopefully this new action and motivation we see in Mexico helps, where Mexico itself becomes a wall. I didn't realize that those distances of Central Americans cover is over 4,000 miles. Jeez. But I also mentioned before, speaking of people getting hurt and dying, that the Border Patrol have one of the best rescue systems in the country because they get so much experience from it. But wow. It did, of course, drew world attention, but it did draw attention to corruption in the Honduran government. It brought news coverage of the trial of the president of Honduras' brother and his drug trafficking trial. So maybe it'll have a positive effect for those poor people. And what a mess, huh? But the U.S., of course, how many times have we tried to rescue another country? Even getting into terrible wars. We don't want to do anything like that on our own borders here. So, but hopefully Mexico, well, not hopefully, but Mexico and the U.S. has actually promised to help out with dollars and get involved in business transactions that may help those countries. Hopefully some positive effect comes from that. I came across something in this article I thought was kind of interesting. Is a lot of people that come across legally and become American citizens are dual citizens. They're also Mexican and American citizens, even though the American government doesn't recognize them as dual citizens. But they, this one activist started rather an ironic red hat that said, "Make Tijuana great again." I thought that was a bit ironic, but it was a business for them, and it apparently worked for a while. But how things go. So some have gone back. Some have jobs. A few have probably got into the U.S. So on it goes. To quote one immigrant here, said, "I just wake up every day and thank God I have this opportunity. God has blessed me for just the opportunity to get into the U.S." And some who've are expecting babies in the process of this at this time. One of them, I quote, one of them said, "My biggest hope, I just want my child to have an opportunity to be born and grow old." We in America, of course, it's hard for us to comprehend a government so corrupt or an area so full of gangs that everything is constantly dangerous. But it's a tough world, and we do what we can. But anyway, that's pretty much where that is at. It's quieted down. You don't hear much at all. It did get Mexico to do quite a bit. Now it's kind of become its own wall. Maybe there's some irony in that. But so on it goes. So thanks for watching. Like and comment on my videos. Subscribe to my channel. And, find out what you can do and get out there and make it a great day.